Guys, welcome back to the Cinema Scale. This time on the scale, we have Mean Girls, the Broadway adapted motion picture. Here in this film, we find ourselves dealing with new student Katie Heron becoming welcomed into North Shore High School after living in Africa, being homeschooled for some time in her life. There, she's confronted with a crush on a person named Aaron Samuels, whom also happens to be the ex-boyfriend of the Queen Bee, Regina George. Now, obviously, we know that this is the modern-day adaptation of the 2004 Mean Girls movie starring Lindsay Lohan and Rachel McAdams. But in this particular movie, it's not a remake, and that's something that we really got to get off the table just from the start of this video. It's not a remake. This is the Broadway adaptation, the Broadway musical adaptation of that musical to film. So when you're dealing with a movie that's coming from a Broadway musical adaptation, there are specific things that you're going to need to look out for. Now, first, when you think about this particular movie, in the theater, the movie, there, it's supposed to be a Broadway adaptation. So you're expecting a lot of singing, you're expecting a lot of dancing in the film. You don't get much of that. And what I mean by that is you get a lot of singing that's just misplaced throughout the entire film. You don't really understand why the songs are there. You don't really understand the essence of the song and what they do for the character or the people surrounding them. And that was just something that really made it difficult to appreciate the music in the film. You just hear a lot of singing. You see a lot of things going on from scene to scene to scene throughout these songs. And one of the things that's really important when you're trying to have a movie like this that you didn't really see is having a strong ensemble, a strong cast, especially if it's from a Broadway musical. So having Angourie Rice play Katie Heron, that was the first challenge in connection with this film. She has a very light voice. A lot of her songs are talked. A lot of her emotion, you don't really know what she's thinking or feeling in this movie. I was really expecting her to bring a different dynamic to the character of Katie Heron, but instead you get this dry, kind of saltine cracker disposition from this girl who has experience. We know her from the Spider-Man series. She's been in Marvel production. So to come here to a role as simple, it's just a simple role in which a girl is developing and growing and understanding herself better, to just being the stone-faced, not emotional person in this film, that really made it drag. Now, playing Regina George, her co-star Renee Rapp, I will say that her voice did save the Broadway element of this film. When Renee Rapp sings, she really lifts up your spirit, and you want to just drop everything that you're doing in the theater and just give her your undivided attention. And so that is one thing that you can appreciate about the film from Renee Rapp. However, Regina George, played by Renee Rapp, she tends to bring a bullying essence. She's really nasty. And that wasn't really what Regina's character was supposed to be like. Regina was more so a conceited, self-conscious girl whom did these things, but we suspect that she has a good heart. And that kind of is lost in this film. Like, Renee Rapp is very nasty as Regina George. And so that's something that just kind of turns you off with her character. The challenge with the film is that instead of bringing just one cast member from the Broadway adaptation, which was Renee Rapp, obviously, you didn't bring enough persons who have a musical element to this film. And that's what made it very difficult. Because at some point you feel like you're watching a movie, and then it's a musical, rather, and then it's like, oh, wait, why are they singing? Oh, yeah, we're watching a musical. When a musical is also brought from Broadway to screen, you're looking more so for big numbers that are going to have you jumping out of your seat, numbers that are going to cause you to feel something. Remember, the purpose of a musical is because the moment that takes place is so strong that it has to be communicated through music. In this film, there were a lot of moments where I was just looking at the screen like, why is that song there? Why did they sing this? Why did they sing that in connection with the film? We have Avantika. She plays Karen. Now, Karen, we obviously know from the 2004 Mean Girls. She's supposed to be the dopey one in the group. She's supposed to be the stupid one in the group. But she takes that stupidity to an entirely different level in this film, to the point where it's almost annoying. Like, she's not really funny. The way they use her disposition or demeanor to make jokes in the film as one that's supposed to be portrayed as stupid, it does not do the film justice, and it starts to become kind of annoying after a while because you're just constantly drained with watching her. Gretchen Wieners is played by B.B. Wood, and she did decent in the role. Again, you can't compare how one person played the character to another, but there also has to be development. And that's what we were expected to see because that's what we were told we were going to see. Development of a new story, of the same story in a new, a classic way. And when you take these characters, right, these two vital characters to this story and just send them off screen so much, you lose that element. At one point in the film, it felt like it was the Regina show. Everyone was worshiping her, praising her. I want to be like Regina. She's so amazing. She's so hot. Use the word sexy way too much in the film. It's just everything is sexy. Everything is sexy. Cleavage is out. And the thing that really gets me for this particular movie is that Mean Girls was founded. The foundation of Mean Girls was a coming of age story. It literally is the anthem for young girls today. And so when you think about Mean Girls, you think about classic culture, understanding women, their hormones, their dynamic, their mood changes, their insecurities, their doubts, their fears. That was the foundation of where we started in 2004 with Mean Girls. So we're not seeing that foundation in this movie at all. Don't expect to see that. What you see is a more modern twist on the female disposition today. There's a lot of profane speech that's uttered throughout the film unnecessarily. There's comments made about hopping off a person's situation downstairs, which is completely unnecessary. It's just things that were just thrown in just to gain an audience. And I feel like when you're dealing with a movie like this that has already established a certain fan base, your first priority should always be that fan base. And what happens is the movie becomes saturated with political statements, commercial aspects, and then they're trying to balance these two worlds that are literally 20 years apart. Like, what are we doing here? Tina Fey was in the movie with Tim Meadows. Tim Meadows seems like he's tired of playing the role. He didn't really bring much comedy to it. There's not much laughter because Tim Meadows is a very funny guy. So you're expecting him to be funny. You don't really see humor in this film. Throughout this film also, too, you see just how desperate they are to try to grasp for a newer audience. For example, Damien, who's played by Jaquel Spivey, he brings this kind of basic undertone to the character. There's moments in the film where it's like he just has lines and dialogue, and it's just simply for the fact to say, we included dialogue from the movie in 2004. You guys should be content with that. His character doesn't really do much for the film. When you think about Kevin G, he was in the movie a few times, not much, so you can't really connect with his character. There's a humor that he has that you just don't connect with. He says one-liners and just leaves when he's on for that amount of time. Christopher Briney as Aaron Samuels. He smiles, he says a few lines. Again, nostalgic dialogue from the 2004 movie, but you don't really feel connected to him. You don't even really feel a connection between him and Katie, Angry Rice. There's no, like, did you guys hang out together behind the scenes, or are we just doing a job here, people? When it comes to the dialogue, if you're wondering, if someone who's watched Mean Girls 2004, you're thinking about the dialogue, because again, this isn't a remake movie. This is an expounding on the same story in a different way. But if there's no expounding on the story, then there's nothing that's really changed, right? So in this movie, what tends to happen is they try to throw in homage from the 2004 movie by means of wardrobe. A lot of the clothing that was worn in 2004 Mean Girls, it's the same, but that doesn't do anything as far as our entertainment value of the movie. We didn't come to see a costume party. And then there's the dialogue. Those lines that made Mean Girls so funny. Those lines that are literally repeated over and over again because we love them and we cherish them. They were just crumpled up and just thrown in the movie really quickly, and just to the point where it's moving so fast you can't even determine if the line was said or not. There were scenes in the film that were just vital to the story that they just aced, just got them in and out. For example, There's the climax scene, obviously we know, in which the girls come to that point where they're discovered out, as it were. And the principal has a nice, funny dynamic. They completely just, I don't know why they got rid of that. Like, certain things didn't make sense. A lot of the dialogue is different. So when you take the dialogue out, when you change the dynamic, it makes the movie different. You're not really seeing Mean Girls. Even though it's a Broadway adaptation to cinema, you're not seeing Mean Girls that you've come to know and love. You're not going to feel that same feeling when you leave the movie theater. And that's the most important part. There were many elements of the movie that was lost. For example, the coming of age story that we know and love is just lost in the film because the dynamic has changed. When you bring in cast members, like for example, Miss Cravallo, who plays Janice, she now is taking a different path of her sexuality. And again, why are we doing that? Like, what did that add to the film other than trying to bring people in to watch it because they feel like this film is pro one side or the other? That's never what Mean Girls was about. And that is what made this movie difficult to really get into. You're not connected with any of the characters. You're not connected with any of the songs. You just see a movie. You see people in it. There's some dialogue. There's some singing. And then they just wrap it up. And at the end of it, they go home. There is a nice cameo in the film. Obviously, we expected the cameo from one of the OG cast members. You're going to feel like you're watching a totally different movie. And it's literally going to make you feel like, wow, I'm really disconnected to this modern generation of things. There are no end credit scenes. There is one little 30-second clip in which there's a message said in connection with the characters of the film, but nothing crazy. During the end credits, they decide to show clips of their spring fling. There also is just a lot of kissing and touching and rubbing and sexual things and perverted speech. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you're talking about trying to not view women a certain way, or women shouldn't be viewed a certain way, or we're not demeaning women, but you demean them in subtle ways throughout this entire film. And that really, it just cuts right through what Mean Girls really was about. You think back to the basics of the movie. The movie was founded on the book entitled Queen Bees and Wannabes. And so that book, rather, it focuses on a coming-of-age story. And that's what you're supposed to see throughout the entire Mean Girls series, and you just don't see that. And it's just unfortunate when you think about a good classic movie ruined just because people want to promote or they want to bring in just for money. And that's just not what the original movie was created for. There's a chemistry that's lacking throughout this entire film, and that's what makes it very difficult, along with the fact that you're trying to take this Broadway version of this movie, put it on screen with this random cast that's been thrown together, no one from the original Broadway production other than Renee Rapp, and now you're saying, okay, let's get a movie, let's stir it up, promote it, and get some fans involved. That made this movie a challenge. And it's like, I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, like, other than that, guys, I love you guys as always. Thank you for allowing me to review Mean Girls, the movie, with you guys. And of course, we're always here for you. We'll catch you the next time on The Scale. Peace out. Love you.